welcome to McKesson. In this video, we're going to take a few minutes and take a look at the latest in mobile technology for the Medisoft and Lytec practice management systems. Really, we're going to be looking at the enhancements that have been made to the Medisoft and Lytec mobile applications this past year. Now, a couple of notes before we get into the demonstration. First, Medisoft Mobile and Lytec Mobile are not actually new for this year. This is a feature that we have had available for a little while now. To this point, Medisoft and Lytec Mobile have been pretty much exclusively physician-oriented tools, allowing me to carry an extension of my practice management system with me, either on my iPhone or on my iPad. And we will see that functionality as we get into the demonstration. What we will also see is the new patient-focused component of Medisoft and Lytec Mobile. And that's what's been added this year. We're actually very excited about what we call patient intake, the new module in Medisoft and Lytec Mobile that we can use to leverage mobile technology directly with our patients. And we're going to see that in today's video as well. A second note to be aware of, Medisoft and Lytec Mobile are actually free apps. They're free services that we offer for our Medisoft and Lytec practices. You can get your mobile device out right now and go to the App Store and you can download Medisoft and Lytec Mobile. There's no cost to doing that. You can immediately begin taking advantage of these extra services. Now, the only caveat to that, of course, is that you do need to be on the latest version of Medisoft and of Lytec so that the app can actually connect back to your practice management system. So that's Medisoft version 20 and Lytec version 2015. And finally, it's also important to note before we get into the demonstration that Medisoft and Lytec Mobile are, for all intents and purposes, the same. The only differences you'll see between Medisoft and Lytec Mobile have to do with, of course, the branding, Medisoft Mobile versus Lytec Mobile, and, of course, the system to which it connects back, Medisoft with Medisoft, Lytec with Lytec. Other than that, the look, the feel, and the workflow is exactly the same between the two applications. That's very important that I stress that at the beginning of this video, especially for our Lytec practices. The reason being is simply, I'm going to be using Medisoft Mobile for this demonstration. So if you're on Lytec, rest assured, this is effectively a demonstration of Lytec Mobile as well. The only difference is branding. Your experience will be exactly the same as you see in this video. Okay, so those notes out of the way, let's get into the actual demonstration. I have my iPad mini here right in front of me. I'm actually using a program called Air Server to display my iPad mini on my laptop so everybody can see it. But if I grab my finger here in the center of the screen, I can wiggle it around. So I am indeed using my own iPad here for this demo. And I have Medisoft Mobile right here on the screen for me. And when I click on that, it's going to open up my mobile application. There we go. I'm going to have to authenticate myself in the mobile app before I can pick it up and start using it again. That way, if I were to ever set my device down and somebody else picked it up, they would not be able to access Medisoft or Lytec Mobile. I'm going to provide my PIN number, and here we go. I'm into my schedule. And we'll say here first, we'll go through the physician tools, so the existing functionality in Medisoft and Lytec Mobile. So let's say I'm Dr. Tomcat Reinecke, as we can see here on the screen, and I'm looking at my schedule. This is the first benefit of Medisoft and Lytec Mobile from the physician's perspective. I have access to my schedule in my practice management system in my mobile device. This way, I'm not constantly having to return to a workstation in order to review my schedule and how it's changed over the course of the day. I can see it right here on my mobile device in Medisoft and Lytec Mobile. I see all of my appointments here down the left-hand side, even as they're color-coded in the practice management system. And for each appointment, I can also get specific information, so a visit reason, a resource like where my patient is roomed, or if he's if he's going to be in the lab or anything like that. I can see notes from my staff. I can see demographics and insurance information. All of that information that's housed in the scheduling portion of my PM is here and available on my mobile application in the palm of my hand. Now, I could also carry my schedule around with me on a piece of paper, right? And many practices do this. Instead of having to return to a workstation, I could simply print out my schedule. But that's where the value of Medisoft and LITech Mobile really comes into play from a scheduling perspective, because it updates in near real time. So that piece of paper is nice, but if I have a patient schedule, or cancel, or other patients schedule, or appointments moved, or if one of my providers is stuck at the hospital, so I have to see some of their patients that are scheduled in the office, or any number of different scenarios where my schedule changes, Medisoft and LITech Mobile will take that into account. I will see it as it evolves. And so I can be sure that what I have in my hand is accurate, and I legitimately now don't have to return to a workstation in order to view my schedule. Now, the real power of Medisoft and LITech Mobile from the perspective of the physician is what I can actually do with each of these appointments. So I've got my schedule in my hands here. Let's say the next patient I need to see is my 115, that's Chad Kozman. I can click on Chad in my schedule. That's going to bring up a detailed screen on his appointment. I can go through my visit with Chad, and then I can click on this Add Charges button up here at the top. And we're going to see the second component of the physician tools in Medisoft and LITech Mobile. What will happen when I do that is I'm brought into my superbill screen. Here it is. And you'll notice right away it looks just like a paper superbill in Medisoft and LITech Mobile. I've got my heading at the top with my patient information and my information. And then I have all of my diagnosis and procedure codes here on my superbill screen. And I can see here how I can scroll through it using my finger on my iPad. What's most important to know here is that this is legitimately my superbill. I can create whatever codes I need in my superbill. I can categorize them however I want to categorize them. And we can see those categories here: office visit new, office visit established, diagnosis, discharge, and so on. And I can order those categories in whatever order I want them. So I can legitimately make this my own personal superbill. On top of that, I can even create multiple superbills. So if my practice has multiple providers, or I operate in a couple of different capacities throughout the day, let's say I work under a different tax ID, or I provide consulting services, or any situation where I may need a separate superbill, I can create more than one. And so in that way, we can cover everything we need to cover in this regard for our practice. And so this is legitimately my superbill that I have designed. In addition to just providing my charges for today, let's say Chad here has chicken pox, and let's say we provided a 99213 for Chad's visit. We can go ahead and select those codes. In addition to selecting codes like I would on a superbill, I can do additional things as well. Discharge instructions down here. This is all free text that I can provide back to my staff. So I can pre-build those discharge instructions or whatever it is, whatever messages I want into my superbill, or I can click on this box here and I can actually enter that as free text on the fly. So whatever note I need to provide back to my staff. And you can see here down at the very bottom, I can create links on my superbill. Now this will link out to my patient education. If I have my iPad in this case set up to print locally in the office, I can go ahead and click on my patient ed button and provide an article and have it printed out and ready for Chad on chickenpox when he checks out. So I can do all of these things from my superbill screen that I have designed. And when I'm all done and I click my submit button, I'm ready to go. That submit button up there in the top right-hand corner. These charges will be fed automatically into my Medisoft or my Lytec system. So in addition to just being able to have my diagnosis procedure codes and this added functionality on a familiar form at my fingertips, I also eliminate the need for my billers to have to bother themselves with simple data entry. They don't have to take my superbill on paper and key those charges in. Instead, the app will feed those charges back into Medisoft or into Lytec automatically. My billers can pick up those transactions and immediately bill them out on claims. So that's the real power here. And what I mean when I say that Medisoft and Lytec Mobile are extensions of the practice management systems for the physician. I can see my schedule and have it update automatically for me on my mobile device. And I can also send my charges for my encounters back into the PM directly from my mobile device as well. Now, this is incredibly convenient and becomes even more so when you think about it in the context of ICD-10, that looming deadline we have October 1st of 2015. Talk to a lot of practices who have taken a look at the ICD-9 codes they use today on their one-page superbill, and they've determined that that's going to cause their superbill to grow by several pages in a lot of cases, 3, 4, 5, 8, something like that. You can have a tremendous impact on the size of that document by adopting ICD-10. And this mobile app becomes particularly beneficial in those instances, because no longer will I have to carry around a 5-page superbill for every patient that I'm going to see, and no longer will my billing staff have to thumb through that 5-page superbill in order to do their data entry for transactions. So I can build all of that, including those ICD-10 codes, into my superbill in Medisoft and Lytec Mobile, and send those transactions seamlessly back into my billing system. And the last note to make here on Medisoft and Lytec Mobile from the physician's perspective is I'm not limited to the appointments that are on my schedule. What if I have a last minute? What if I have a walk-in? Well, I can handle those scenarios directly on my app as well. If I click on my magnifying glass up here, my search button, I can search for my patients in Medisoft and Lytec. So if they're not on the schedule, I can still grab them and send charges for them. I can still fill out a superbill for them. Or if they're a new patient or a walk-in that we haven't seen before, I can click on Add Patient. And I can go ahead and add that person directly in my app on the fly and feed that person and those transactions back into Medisoft and Lytec. So a very powerful tool from a physician's perspective, allowing them to carry Medisoft and Lytec with them in their pocket, either on their iPhone or on their iPad. So that's Medisoft and Lytec Mobile's existing functionality. That's what we're used to in these applications, and it's very exciting stuff from the perspective of your physicians. What I want to finish out today's video with is the new functionality that relates directly to patients. And actually, to do that, I'm going to have to say that I am no longer a physician in my app. So I'm going to hit my settings button. I'm going to go ahead and disable the ability to add patients. And we'll see a new button pop up when I pop back out into my system here. What we're going to see is a new button that allows me to go through what I called before patient intake. And this is the new functionality within Medisoft and Lytec Mobile. So we can see it there at the top. So again, I'm looking at Tomcat Reineke's schedule. I can see all of the appointments he has for today. We can say in this case, what we're doing is we're looking at this from the perspective of Tom Katz's front desk staff. So instead of being Dr. Reineke himself, right now I'm working at his front desk, and it's my job to get patients checked in and to get them registered. So what I can do with Medisoft and LITech Mobile as of this year is I can replace my registration forms and my clipboard. I can instead, for say patient Susie Jones, hand Susie an iPad, and I can have Susie register for her appointment and fill out those registration forms electronically. So if I click on Susie's appointment here for 1:45, I click the patient intake button right there at the top. This is going to open up the new patient intake module in Medisoft and LITech Mobile. And you'll see here, once I do that, no longer can I see the schedule. I now do not have access to any other area of the app while I am in the patient intake module, because the understanding is now I've handed this app to a patient, and so the patient can't get back into the other functionality in the app. They can only access patient intake and their own information. And we can see here right away just how easy it is to use patient intake. It's actually structured just like a text message conversation. First, I'm greeted by the app, hello and welcome. It asks me my name. Since Susie's an existing patient, I already have this information. So I can then walk through the app. Once I confirm my name, I can confirm my address, I can confirm my phone numbers, my email, and I can work my way through all of the information the practice needs to have on file for me. I can get into employment, whether I'm employed, who I work for, their address. I can get into my billing information. I can get into emergency contact. And you can see in each of these sections, as I work my way through, the layout is always very straightforward, very user-friendly. The app literally asks the patient's questions one at a time, allowing me to fill out this information. And so the value here from a patient's perspective is this is much easier to understand than a lot of the registration forms I have to fill out on paper, on a clipboard, instead of having to write my way through forms that request 20, 30, 40 different fields of information. I can go through piece by piece, question by question, and provide all of my information back to the practice, including relevant forms that my practice needs on file and my signature. So if I get into forms and signature here, I can pull up, say, my financial policy form for the practice right here in the mobile app. I can review it electronically. I can sign off on it, and I can provide my electronic signature here. So in that way, I can go through everything that I need to go through, just like on paper, but I can do it in the mobile app. And so this is a fantastic new feature to allow patients access to this electronically, really improving their experience in just registering for their appointments. The real value, though, what really makes this a powerful tool for practices, is that all of this information will then be fed into Medisoft and LITech Mobile automatically. So I can do everything that I needed to do on the clipboard with the registration forms on paper. I can do all of that in patient intake. But now my staff doesn't have to take that clipboard back and then type all of that information in to Medisoft and LITech. All of that tedious data entry that I have to do for each of my patients is gone. And all of this information is sent back into Medisoft and LITech automatically. For an existing patient like Susie, when she finishes here, all of this will be updated in Medisoft and LITech. And I'll even see highlights as to what Susie's changed. So I know at a glance everything that's updated and everything that stayed the same. And you can see here, as I do finish this, as Susie says, yep, I'm done, I've updated everything I need to do, I now, as a user at the front desk, have to log back into the system. So I mentioned before not being able to access the full breadth of the app as a patient. That remains true. It's all password protected once I'm in Medisoft and LITech Mobile, so no patient can see any other patient's information or perform any other function available in the system. And so I can go ahead and log back in. Susie's handed me my iPad back. Her file is now automatically updated with everything she changed in the patient intake mobile application. And we can do the same thing with brand new patients. So I mentioned before being able to take new patients in on the physician side. I can do it on the patient side as well, legitimately replacing all of my registration forms. So I don't have to bring a brand new patient into the office and go through the clipboard. I can do the same thing we just did with Susie. I can come up here to my search, I can click on intake, and I can walk through the whole patient intake process from beginning to end for the first time. So you see now everything is blank because I'm a new patient. So I can fill all of this out. Once again, patient information, employment, payment responsibility. You can see if I try to change sections without completing anything, required fields highlight for me. It's a foolproof system that allows for an easy user experience. And again, the bottom line here is that my staff no longer has to go back and enter all of this information into the PM. The app will feed it into the PM for me, which creates loads of efficiency at the front desk and frees up my staff's time to focus on really important matters there at the office. Again, I don't have to worry about the tedium of data entry anymore. So this information will take care of itself. The record is automatically in my PM, and now my staff can focus on, say, returning patients' phone calls, or setting up a referral appointment, or faxing records to a specialist, or, again, in the case of October 1st, they can focus on ICD-10. So again, as I mentioned, Medisoft and LITech Mobile allows for greater efficiency and are wonderful tools to use in your practice in and of themselves, but especially valuable when you consider the looming ICD-10 deadline. The physician tools allow me more autonomy in the office. I don't have to return to a workstation, and I can document my superbill, including my superbill in ICD-10, and feed those charges to my biller, so my biller doesn't have to key all that information in, and I don't have to carry around all that extra paper. And then on the patient side, I can present my patient with a very nice user-friendly experience as they register with my practice for their appointment. And at the same time, I can free up loads of my staff's time that used to be committed to doing data entry on all those registration forms that they can now use for more important tasks, notably training for ICD-10. So that about covers the content of today's video. Again, we're very, very excited about what Medisoft and LITech Mobile can do for your practice, particularly the new patient intake module that we've just seen as a part of the brand new iterations of Medisoft and LITech Mobile. Again, you'll need to be on Medisoft version 20 or LITech version 2015 in order to leverage these, but once you're upgraded, they are free. You can go out and download them from the App Store today. So download them, give them a try. I guarantee you will love the experience this provides for your physicians and patients.
Hey, thanks for watching. Hope you liked the video and found it helpful. If you did, let us know by giving us a thumbs up by clicking on the like button below. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, feel free to write those in the comments section below. And if you want to get more helpful videos like this one, be sure to subscribe to our channel. Thanks!